Imagine yourself stepping into that dreamy van life we all admire on social media. The cozy beds, the coffee with views, the open roads, and the freedom to explore. But here's the thing, you do not have to quit your job or buy a camper van to make it happen. You can rent one and still have an incredible adventure. That's exactly what I do. And in this episode, I'm gonna show you how to do it. If this is your first time renting a camper van or RV, this guide is for you. I'll walk you through everything you need to know, from how to operate the switches and panels inside the van to tips that'll make your trip smoother and more enjoyable. We'll cover what to pack, common mistakes to avoid, and all the must-know details to help you feel confident hitting the road. And stick to the end to learn the main tip to save this trip. So let's get started and make your first camper van journey an unforgettable one. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Selena, but you can call me Sally. I travel in a camper van, sharing epic adventures, secret spots, and travel tips. This season is packed with excitement, and here's something special for you. At the end of the season, I'm giving away a free or discounted ebook with everything you need to know about renting a camper van and must-have app. But don't worry, if camper vans aren't your thing, the highlight of this ebook is my tried and true ultimate itinerary for the Florida Keys, so you have the best experience possible. Just watch each episode to collect the secret word to make your dream trip a reality, and I'll show you how to claim your ebook at the end. Let's adventure, everyone! This is Florida Key season, final episode 16. This season was an amazing Florida adventure, renting a camper van in Miami and driving through all the Florida Keys. And if you want to replicate this trip yourself, stay tuned for the full ebook that is coming out so you too can get to Key West camper van travel style.
Good morning, everyone. It's 7:30 in the morning. Today was day to sleep in a little bit. No sunrise today. It's the day to return the van. So we're gonna empty everything out, clean it out, and start making our way back to Orlando. So, unfortunately, let's do this.
So today, besides learning all the things camper van and how they work, how can you rent and live your first experience, I'm also going to show some things about the routine of a camper van. And in this type of camper where the bed folds up, part of the morning routine is put everything away.
So above the bed, in this cabinet that stay trapped behind the bed when you open, I keep all the bedding stuff. That's what I need only when I open the bed. This way it makes it simple and it's ready to go when I go to sleep.
But since today is the day to empty out the van, we're gonna take everything out before flip the bed up. One of the advantages of the van that flips the bed up is that you can fit a full bike inside the van, but you have to move the bike back and then out to the front when you go to sleep every single day. And that's quite some work, everyone. If you watch these episodes, you know. One lesson to learn when you are camping in a camper van is that yes, it has water and electricity for you, but it's all limited. So if you notice, when I brush my teeth and wash my face in the morning, I'm constantly opening and close the water and use just the exact amount of water that I needed. This way I conserve the waters for my everyday needs until I get a chance to go and refill. Tip number 2 goes to have different towels. I like to have one that I use for my face, one to dry my hands, one to dry the dishes, and one I always keep on the sink to keep the sink dry. Tip number 3, as I always talk about organizing your camper van, is the one thing you need to do when you get in. Having a location for putting the windshield covers is very helpful because this is something you're gonna do every day, every morning and every night in the van. So if you have organized where you always find them, where are the right side and the left side, you don't spend time every single day having to figure out that same task. For me, as I drive alone, I like to put everything in the passenger seat. And as you see, I have my own areas to put. The front window goes in one side and my side windows go in the front, right and left. This way I'm ready to go on the next day. Unfortunately, it is time to empty out this van of all our stuff. So, you wanna help me out? Let's do it in a fast way. Watch me. One thing that is hard to believe with this tiny camper vans is the amount of stuff you can actually fit in. I had everything from my bike to inflatable paddleboard, beach gear, I mean, name it, you could find it in there. And as I was moving things out, I also start the cleaning part. With most of the camper van rentals, there is a fee for cleaning the van for you when you return. And my tip number 4 is clean the van yourself. It's such a tiny space and so easy to do, and you can avoid on a fee for basically nothing. So before we finish unpack everything, let me give you a tour on some tips of how to organize the van. First, in the entrance, you also have an entrance here for a hose, so you can use water outside. You have outlets, heater. Here is the place I like to keep the broom and the pan right by the door so you can clean the entrance very easily all the time. And I really like to keep my shoes by the entrance, so I normally bring a bag that I hang in between the front seats and keep all my options of shoes right there. Makes it convenient, and also you don't bring the dirt inside the van. Next, with indie campers, they give you a tub filled with kitchen items, so I just took away what I needed and kept this tub and my luggage right behind the driver's seat and underneath the desk. This way I kept the space open for myself. And this table right here was really good because I could use it during the day and flip it in and out when I needed the space, so made it very convenient. Also, if you're traveling with more people, you can flip around the front seats and you can seat 4 people around this table. Pretty cool, huh? As a content creator, I like to keep the bag that I take out with everything to record and go on any adventure right here at the seat. In this little bag, I can keep my water. I have a space that I put my small drone, and I can just take it out of here and go, and I know where it always is. I like to always bring my ukulele for some reminiscing Hawaiian times. So I made this seat right here, it's home. And at this cabinet here in the front, I like to keep all the items that are always coming and going, like my beach bag, sun hat, some of my books and notes and umbrellas. It's very convenient right here to turn around and get outside the van. If we call my lesson number 1 learning about organizing the van, lesson number 2, we're gonna dive in these panels that you need to understand to read and know what things are. This first light right here is the water pump, and the switch that relates to that is the on and off for the water pump, which you need to turn on in order to bring the water to your sink and to your shower. Below you have a series of buttons that you can check the levels you have currently in the van. This first button is called LPG, which stands for liquefied petroleum gas, which is the propane gas you use to turn on the stovetop, the air heater, and the water heater. Then press and hold to see the levels, and as you can see, we're at 2/3 of the full tank. The very next button checks the battery, and same principle, as you press and hold, you'll see that the battery is fully charged. And the last button says gray. This is the gray water. When we press and hold, we see we're using 1/3 of the full tank, and you definitely want to empty it out before you hit full. This panel below is your solar panel, which will display the temperature as well as the solar energy that you have accumulated. The next switch is the LP valve, which will enable you to use the propane gas. And you have to turn this on when you use the stove, or you're gonna go take a hot shower, or gonna use the air heater. And please make sure to turn it off when you're not using these items. On the opposite side, this red button you're only gonna use when you're traveling to freezing zones, and this will prevent your tank, your water tank, from freezing. And you gotta make sure the propane switch is also on, enabling the propane gas so you can heat the water in your tank. And tip number 5 about this enabling propane button is that before you want to take a nice and warm shower, you want to remember to turn this on at least 45 minutes before you turn on the shower water, if you want to have a nice and warm shower. Talking about showers, let's hop into the most asked place to see in a camper van, the bathroom. And my tip number 6 is, even though most vans comes with some sort of a full-size mirror, I love traveling with this magnifying mirror to put my makeup every morning. And this is an item I got at Amazon, so check the link in the comments below. Up in here, you have to snap the shower curtain that will come down all the way to the floor and seal this part of the door, not letting water to come out. Once my shower towel is dry, I like to keep it in here to save the space outside. I also like to hang this curtain away so it's not on the way when you come here to use the toilet. But make sure you have your towel dry first before you hang it inside here. Inside the restroom, I also like to keep a bag for trash, and toilet paper has this little cabin so it keeps the toilet paper dry. Super cute, huh? And save all those store bags from your first shopping because you're gonna be using to replace and keep fresh trash bags here in the bathroom. Above the toilet, I like to keep in this caddy all the items I use to shower and some items I use to get ready in the morning, like my makeup is in this cup here, hairspray. And now let's have the most tweeted lesson, how to use the cassette toilet. So the cassette toilet is the closest you have to the one you use at home. It uses some water to rinse it off. It keeps everything down in a compartment that you remove and trash it like an old cassette tape system stuff. You're gonna understand when I get outside of the van and show you how to remove that. But everything you do here goes underneath and you seal the toilet and you won't smell anything. And I'll share my main tip for that. To flush the toilet, this is how it works. You flush it to one side, everything goes down and stays down there, and then you seal it again. The biggest tip that no one tells you, I'm glad I learned about this. So tip number 8 is that after you open, flush everything down, close and seal, you wanna press the button, put some water inside so it really like air seals and no smells will come from the bottom up. And this is how the cassette toilet works, everyone. Now let's take a step back and talk about the shower space. Y'all ask me about this. So you have an idea. Here's me standing in the shower and hitting my head on the curtain. You can remove this curtain rod. It's tight. For a reference, I'm 5'5". But once the curtain's down and you remove the rod, you do have a little more space around here. So showering in a camper van, let's talk about that. The shower hangs right here and you can take off the handle and there is a button that you use to release the water. And just like brushing your teeth, you should be rinsing yourself first and then turn the water off, wash yourself off, and then turn the water on again, rinse yourself down. So the idea is that you always trying to conserve the water and not taking those luxury showers that you take at home. The bathroom will also have a separate light switch and a heater. So if you are traveling in the winter, when you use the bathroom, it's not gonna be freezing cold when the heater is on. Just like every cabinet and door in a camper van, there's a latch that you need to remember to lock before you start driving the van around, so this door is not flopping all the way as you're driving the van. Continuing the tour, what we call the garage area, which is this area below the bed. In the cabinet over here is where they stored what you call the shore power. So if you are in a camping site that provides power, you can just plug that in and not depend on your solar panels and the power that is in the van. You connect it to power. There's some more storage space over here. But try to remember not to store anything down here that you will need to access when you have the bed down. On the other side, we have some more storage areas. I like to keep here all the water, and then I toss all the used bottles to dump in a recycle bin when I find one. And finally, the closet. Since this cabinet you can access when the bed is down, this is where I like to keep all my clothing. and I roll them all up, and I try to keep in compartments where I know where all my dresses are and beach items. Like I have an area for my pants and then my swimsuit. So compartmentalize your closet area. This way you're not lost trying to find things every time you open this tiny cabinet up. Also in this back area is where you're gonna have your roof vent fan. And something very important you need to remember is when you turn this on, a lid will pop up on the external upper side of the van. And if you drive with that up, it can hit things because it will make the van taller. So always remember to turn this off and bring the lid down before you start driving this van anywhere. But this at night and even during the day to keep circulating the air in the van is very helpful and will keep the van cool or cooler as well. Next, our lesson number 4 will be about all the way around how to use our Murphy bed. So in this very corner, there is a latch that keeps the bed from coming down, and you have to have this latch at all times when the vehicle is moving. And at night, as you can see, I'm doing this with only one hand. It's super easy to bring it down, flip the cushions, and now you made a full bed for you to sleep. You just need to put the bedding, set the bed up, and then undo everything again in the morning. And again, that's the cabinet. I keep everything for the bed, so it's ready to go, and I don't need to use that cabinet when the bed is flipped up and you're not able to access that cabinet. So remember that when you decide to put anything in this cabinet that lives behind the bed. Next, in this small cabinet that is in between the bedroom and the sink area, I like to keep all the things I use in the morning to brush my teeth and wash my face, my makeup. So everything here is ready for me to get ready when I wake up. I also like to keep those towels I mentioned before. I have one separated to dry my face, my lotion, my shower loofah. And one easy tip is that I like to keep a bowl with all the items like I take off every night before to sleep and I put back before I go out next day. So in this bowl I like to keep, for example, my sunglasses and all the jewelry I take off, my deodorant, bracelets, earrings, you know, just all these things. So I know where it is. I can just quickly put it away in a bowl and put it down the next morning, and as I get ready, it's ready to go. A cool thing is all the cabinets stay up, magnetized when you open, and then you have to pull it down and latch it again to close it. So for the latches here, you have to unlatch and then you open and snap it up with the magnet right here. And here we have our kitchen cabinet. So we keep all the plates and utensils, cups, cookingware, and then I like to keep some of the pantry items I use every morning to make coffee. I also keep my little caddy here to brush my teeth, and everything stays here organized. And you gotta make sure you close and latch it before you drive. Now down here in the little kitchen basket, some tips I have for you is to keep it practical. I just have a couple of different seasonings that I use for cooking, my cooking oil, dish soap, the brush, a general soap to wash my hands, soap I wash my face in the morning, and a different towel to dry my hands. Then the towel I dry the dishes, and of course, I always bring my little Bailey memory, the little dachshund I used to have. Here in the sink, this is a pipe that goes to your gray tank, so make sure you don't dump anything in here. You're using this filter, and anything that you catch here, you're putting in the trash, and then put it back. Make sure nothing goes down this pipe. And my last piece of towel that I keep to always keep the sink dry, because as you move the van, the water that collects on top here goes on the floor and spreads all over the van. So it's very important to keep a towel ready to always dry this cabinet area over here. And I like to keep this separate so I'm not using it on my dishes or on my face and things like that. Next, just like I showed you earlier how to measure everything you have in the van, here's how you measure your water. there is this little lit up stripe over here with some water inside, and you cannot see really well in the camera, but here, let me try different angles. Yeah, I cannot really show you, but you can see right here the level that your water is, so you know when you have to fill it up. And this knob over here, you can keep the water heater in between normal, preheat, or eco hot. I normally don't play much with it, but there's a way you can make the water heat faster, and of course will consume some more energy. Continuing on the cabinetry, we have more storage, and on this little drawer we have here, originally had all the silverware, but I put that above as you all could see, because here I like to keep all the items I need to pull before I go to bed. So I have all my chargers for my phone, for my cameras, for my drones. I have a flashlight that I keep in the bed with me as I'm sleeping. I have some of my safety devices. So anything that I pull in to the bed and then out from the bed, I just keep it here because it's very convenient to just keep close to the bed. Another extremely important tip is bring a converter that you can plug USB cables and even a regular power outlet into a car outlet. This is because the regular power outlets that are in the van, they only work when the van is plugged into shore power, and no one tells you that. This is how they are wired. So these regular outlets over here, they will not work when you are just using the battery and the solar power, only when you are plugged into the shore power. Now, your little outlets where you can plug USB directly, those are wired into the battery, like these ones. So you will be able to use all of them when you're off grid, which means when you're not plugged into shore power. So luckily, all our cell phones and stuff like that have that, but if you have anything that needs to use the regular outlet plug, make sure you bring one of these converters, and they will come very handy when you're traveling off grid like me and not plugging into shore power. Next, let's take a look underneath the sink. So in these cabinets right here, I like to make a little trash bag, again, with those store bags. So this way you keep just little amount of trash and you can refresh these bags often. I like to keep cleaning supplies. My wine bottles go over here so they're protected from rolling around. Some containers and lids and water bottle. On the other side is where I keep all the pans and pots that I use daily, so they're used to pull it out and put it back in. And all these little things are part of that organization, I tell you. It makes your daily tasks in the van easier because everything has a little place where they live. Over this side, there's no cabinets because there's the fridge, but there's this extension of the counter, not to be confused with a cutting board. This is not to be used as a cutting board, but it makes it very convenient as an extension when you're cooking things. And always remember to latch everything before you drive out with the van. Next, right on the top here is where you have your cooking top, which of course is gas operated. So you have to hold the button down, make sure the gas is on, and voila, we got fire. Once you finish using, make sure you let this lid cool down before you bring it down. Also, another big tip is while you're cooking, making sure your windows are open so you're not building up that CO2 gas, and your alarms in the van, which you must have some of those, will go off, which is a good thing. So make sure you know your windows are up or your doors are open and you are ventilating air as you are cooking inside the van. Another item I really like in this van, especially traveling here in Florida, are the mosquito nets. So there's one in the door that you can cover the entire door, and in all the windows around the van, when you open, there's also a mosquito net right there. So it helps, but I won't lie to you, with the doors open, that you know, sometimes you don't put these things down and tons of mosquitoes will get in this van. Make sure for traveling Florida you come equipped with mosquito repellent. Above the front cabin, you have some storage space, so I like to keep here, you know, my purse ready to take out. Another tip is bring a speaker, and this is a nice place to keep it on, so it blasts the music through the entire van. I also like to keep here my drone, so it's an easy pick up and take out right from the top of the cabin. My front seats is where I keep my light sweaters. So again, also convenient to take out or put it on as you're driving if you get cold in the evenings. A trash bag is also important to keep everything nice and clean. And in the front, I also like to stock some water bottles. So if I'm driving, I have a little stock over there. And throughout the trip, I start tossing all the empty water bottles here in the front passenger seat space. This way, when I find a recycling bin, I just open this front door and put them all in the right place. As I mentioned before, this is also where I keep all the shades to cover the front windows. And I organize them. This way I don't have to figure out every single night which one goes where. Here is another item you must purchase and bring in your travels, so you can put GPS app or record, and you can install this phone holder on your windshield, and the link for this will be in the description as well. Another tip to make things practical is bring a separate cable to charge your phone that lives in the front of the van, and then use a different one at night in the back of the van, so you don't have to be transferring this cable back and front every time you're driving the van. It makes it super convenient. Another advantage of this van, especially if you're traveling with more people, is that 2 more can sleep on the top tent that opens here. Make sure to watch episode 2 where I show you how that works and all of that. And that's when I got a chance to sleep upstairs when I was in a nice winery camping. But since most of this trip I was doing some stealth camping, which is when you're sleeping in areas and trying to be quiet about it. So I didn't pop the tent up on top of the van. And our next lessons will be about the outside of the camper van. So let's take a look at some items you need to be familiar with. The first one is your outdoor power outlet. Remember that cable I showed you all earlier? You plug that in here and then you plug that into shore power, so you don't need to worry about how much battery you have because you're gonna be using outdoor provided power in a campsite. And the very next door is where your cassette stays for your toilet, and you can lock it so no one tamper with your stuff. And it's pretty easy to take it out. And quite interesting to say that it is a little carry-on luggage. So it's easy for you to take, in a gas station when you stop, and you just simply take this to a public restroom and empty it out in the toilet. And if there's a main tip no one will tell you, is bring gloves for your trip, because trust me, you will want to do this part with gloves and not your bare hands. Once you dump everything that was inside out in a regular public toilet, you can just bring it back, insert this cassette back in, and you're ready to go again, literally. The next part you want to be familiar with is how to empty your gray tank. So this tube right here pours all the water that is collected from your kitchen sink and the shower, and when you pull this lever, all the water will come out. That's basically just water, and you can dump that in a specific campsite location or on a street drain. Next is the most basic one we use from our cars. This is just the fuel for the vehicle, and for this van in particularly, it was regular fuel, not diesel, which made the cost of these trips a little better. I hope you enjoyed learning about how to camper van, and I really hope I'm inspiring you to take the leap and go try this van life out. You don't need to quit your job and move into a camper van to have these beautiful, amazing experiences. This changed the way I travel, and I'm really enjoying this. I feel freedom, I feel adventures, I feel I can jump into anything because I have it all there with me. If you haven't watched this whole season, go back. There's so much to see here in the Florida Keys. And to be honest, this was the only way I could afford this trip, was to be in a camper van, because the Florida Keys can be so expensive. So stay tuned, because now my amazing Florida Keys ebook Van Travel is about to launch. And you that watched all these episodes and saved all those keywords will have your chance to get yours for free. So at the end of the trip, it was all about finishing emptying out the van. Another quick tip here is, if you're local and you're in Florida and you're gonna drive to Miami to rent this camper van, make different bags. Since I wasn't flying, I was able to have a bag with all my kitchen items, a bag for bedding, one for bathroom stuff, and this way it was super easy to just take everything out of the van and distribute everything in. And as I was removing things, I was just doing my cleaning, because remember, they will charge you if you don't clean the van, and they will also charge you for bedding sheets. So again, if you're local, this is another item you can bring and not get the extra charge. But all these tips, all these details is gonna be included in my ebook, so stay tuned, because after the movie recap, I'm gonna teach you how to redeem all these words, how to get your ebook, and how to do this amazing trip yourself. Now, good luck to me, because I need to fit all these items in my tiny car. But I'll tell you, once you put the roof down, it's magic how much stuff you can fit in this tiny car. Thank you, RVer, for taking me to all my adventures. The last and most important tip is record how you're returning the van in case anything comes up later. And the keyword for this episode, for those who are watching all the way to the end, thank you so much. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. Please subscribe to get more of this. Next, we're gonna get an entire recap of all this season, so stay tuned. And the keyword for this episode is home, because we're going home. So now it's time to have your list of all these keywords I've been giving you in each episode. And on the next one, when we recap this entire season, I'm gonna give you the details on how to apply these keywords for your free full guide on traveling through the Florida Keys. If you're doing it in a camper van, great, because I'm going to give you all the details on how to rent, how to do it. I'm going to give you all the costs of this trip and all the informations. If you're not doing it in a camper van, if you're just going and staying in hotels, that's great too, because you get all the tips of what to do, costs, activities, restaurants, name it. You will find it on this guide. So for the first 20 people submitting those keywords, it's going to be free. And after that, there is a 20% off on your guide if you submit all the keywords for these episodes at any time. I'll see you on the recap. And on the way home, I found this amazing spot to have brunch right before getting home. So definitely add this to your list.